podcast. Come take this walk with me.
Welcome back to the Three Parallels Podcast with your host, the Brother Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we were, we embrace who we are, and we make room for who we're trying to become. If that is you, you are in the right place, baby, because it's season 3. Woo, woo! Season 3, 2026. We are in here, and as I told you, I got some folks coming in, some heavy hitters. You're going to get hit in the head with a honey bun for today's guest. I'm telling y'all now, okay? This brother is bad, and I'm talking about Michael Jackson brothers and his sister, bad. This brother here, we haven't even met in person. You know, we ain't breathe the same air. We ain't been in the same room, but we've done a lot of work together, and it's magical every time we get together. This brother happens to be the jack of all trades, in my humble opinion. He does everything. The reality is I can't think of anything he doesn't do, and I would love to bring him to you. So who I'm talking about is Greg Urquhart, one of the best in the business related to structure, system, support, content creation, elevation, just taking your work and taking it to a whole nother level. And that was my introduction to him with Mental Health Academy. So Mental Health Academy is who I've been a part of for years now, providing webinars and things related to mental health and wellness. And Greg is usually behind the scenes, making sure everybody's stuff is up to par. We had a conversation from our first recording, and that was it for me. So this feels like my brother from another mother. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce you to the one, the only, Greg Urquhart. Welcome to the show, baby.
Well, thank you, Jason. It's a pleasure to be with you, as always.
Absolutely.
Always love catching up with you.
Absolutely. And now we're here to share us with everybody, okay? That's what we're going to do. So I'm curious. The listeners are curious. Who's Greg? Like, if you were to introduce you based off of where you are, what you do, what would you share?
Wow, I did not prep properly for this, I guess. Who am I? That's maybe the toughest question you could ever ask someone, I feel like.
Okay.
And because it does change, as you know, as you say, there's the three body problem kind of thing, you know, who you were, who you are, who you're going to be. I am just an inquisitive person who I don't know. I'm just interested in stuff. I like to find out about things. I like to find out how to do things. And what I really like to do is find people who are passionate about what they like to do. And I really like to give them a platform for that, to share that.
Gotcha.
To share that. So,
gotcha. So if we were talking about specifics, like how did you get to the place where you are to curate these experiences for people who are passionate about what they're passionate in, to provide kind of a framework around it to enhance what people offer? How'd you get into this?
Well, as most things, you know, there's some serendipity and some seemingly random choices or opportunities to come along, and you end up where you end up. But I've always been, I don't know, I'm just interested in like learning and academic kind of stuff. And I say academic, but I don't mean like ivory tower stuff necessarily, but like just I don't know. You can learn a lot from watching a crappy TV show sometimes, you know, like just learning from everything and anything. And like it's a lot of times it's the context you put it in. So I you know, I got out of college, didn't know what the hell I was going to do, and took some random jobs and moved over to the UK for a little bit, and then came back, and after working some random jobs, I ended up with at this place called On Campus Marketing, and it was a company that really young kind of startup company outside of DC, and their specialty was selling bed sheets to incoming college kids. So, you know, in colleges, a lot of times they have like extra long twin beds. There's only two places that have them: prisons and college dorms, because they got to fit like grown up people in a room, and twin size beds are not built for the height, especially of, you know, normal males, and tall females. Like, just, you know, it's tough. So they used to be a bear to get, and these guys had this company where they would the basic model was to work with universities, like groups at universities,
Mm-hmm.
and uh, let's say like the Residence Hall Association or Student Association or something like that,
Yeah.
they would provide the mailing lists, like physical mailing lists and their letterhead. And we would send a letter saying, hey, here's an easy way to find your stuff. So your kid who you're going to be missing terribly, it's a little heartstringy, Mad Men kind of thing of, you know, order through us is guaranteed fit and all that stuff. And we gave the groups like a cut
Mm-hmm.
of the thing. And that was kind of my intro to business in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at first I was a school manager, as I said, where I was going around trying to sign up groups for this program at colleges, trying to find them, manage the account to make sure they sent the lists and approved everything, and then and deliver the checks and try to get them signed on other things. And then I ended up running that program, the linen program. And I was like, all right, bedsheet salesman. I did not see that in my thing, but I was there for like 5, 6 years, and because we're doing a lot of direct mail and stuff, I ended up having some knowledge in that, and I ended up going to from selling sheets. And I want to come back to the sheets thing because it's a good analogy for some things I like to use. I know you love analogies.
All day. You know me.
Um, what you could say was a lot of things, but in essence, it was like a direct mail, direct marketing kind of program. And I leveraged that and ended up with a job at the journal Science, which is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the top US science journal, arguably. I don't think there's much question when people say like prestigious or top in terms of like uh, citations and impact factor and the like how hard it is to get your scientific article published in there is
Mm-hmm.
the number one or number two um, scientific journal. And but it also had a bit of a magazine element, like science news, some stuff that I could read because of the
Yeah.
scientific stuff. And I was running, like looking after their membership and circulation. It was
Mm-hmm.
largely direct mail. Um, and it was all right, but it was an association. It was a little staid for me at that age. Like I was in my mid 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a UK office, and um, one of them got someone there left and went to the other journal that people say is the number one or number two is Nature, which is based in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing a lot of cool things, like they were launching other journals, and it was just, to me, it seemed hipper and I don't know, more interesting.
Yeah.
And they ended up hiring me there at Nature. So I
Mm-hmm.
was only at Science for about 18 months, but then I was to Nature for like 16 years and stuff. And again, but this is all of this stuff is like, but that was my introduction to like hey, you don't have to do the content itself. You don't have to be the expert in
Yeah.
order to play a valuable role in this ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, um, and I was there for 6 years, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I was commuting to New York every week, and like between DC and New York. We had a
Wow.
DC office, but my direct reports were in New York, and I had some direct reports in London. So then every like 6, 7 weeks, I'd go over to London.
Wow.
It was an awesome job for your mid late 20s,
Yeah.
and even early 30s. Got a little
Mm-hmm.
tougher when I had kids, but
Yeah.
but one thing I did notice, I liked that job. It was like science communication because you'd have events and big things, and you'd have to talk to um, press releases and write little clips for the website and things like that, like promoting.
Yeah.
Um, and working with all these brilliant people. And one thing I noticed though, like the execs and stuff they all had a lot of letters after their names.
Uh-huh.
So I decided to go to business school
Okay.
during that time. It was an executive program. So I went to Georgetown Business School through the International Executive MBA program. I did that nights, weekends, all that kind of stuff. But there was also it was 2 years about. Um, and it helped me get my stuff in the line. And I remember this all to come around to this. Like I remember this presentation I had to give of like, what have you gotten out of? What's the most thing you've learned from this? And I said, it's weird to think I went from selling sheets to like working at the most prestigious two scientific journals in the world,
Mm.
and pretty important jobs there. I wouldn't say crazy important, but it was
Yeah,
the job a lot of people wanted, that's for sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
And I said, but it all comes down to that job, that kind of first real job, which is the importance of fit. And
Mm.
if when something fits, and if something feels true, and if it doesn't, you just know. And like when you in the business world, most of it is fitting the message to the buyer, in a very basic sense of like, I have something and I'd like you to buy it. It's fitting the
Yeah.
message and the product. But it's also personal. If this is a fit for you and what you want to be doing, and how, um, because it's I've had a couple jobs in my life, thankfully not many, where it wasn't a fit. And
Hmm.
man, those are some long days.
Yes, indeed. So this is loaded. This is loaded, Greg. I'm talking about baked potato, sour cream, chives, and a ribeye steak on top. Okay, this is loaded. This is loaded. What you're saying, because there's so many levels to it, and I want to
Yep.
talk about a few of these levels. The first one you mentioned relates to fit, and to me that can apply to relationships, jobs, and everything else in between. And I'm sure that came with time and experience to learn fit, how important fit is. The second I noticed is it seems like you've been a student of life forever. So I'm curious to know these two parallels of being open, being a student, being willing to learn, pivot, and shift and find a fit. Like it sounds like a lot of work has been done to get to where you are. So if you could
Hmm.
share with us, what did that work look like?
Um, what did the work look like? It's weird because I didn't think of it like work, I guess. I don't think of it like work. It's just what you do. It's the business school and managing the time, especially like I had my first kid right before I went to business school.
Hmm.
While I was still working full time and traveling. Um, and that puts you in that space where you don't have time, but you've got more stuff than ever to do,
Hmm.
and you make it work, right? You just kind of you start
Yeah.
getting better with time management. You start um letting some things, maybe ranking and stuff in importance. Like one of the things, and this is somewhat of a theory. Most of what I'm going to say, take with a grain of salt today. So, because I never let the truth get in the way of a good story. But and things are always, and sometimes in retrospect, it's like, oh yeah, I had this plan, but it's like, well, did I? I
Yeah.
hadn't really thought it through that correctly. But it's one of the lessons of business school. But I do kind of believe this. They throw, especially in this business school, with so much stuff to do with your work and this, and they throw all this stuff at you. Was they didn't want you to be able to do all of it. They wanted you to
Mm.
prioritize
Mm. That's powerful.
and work with your team and stuff. But the people who really, because it was like, hey, you could, in the grades in business school, who really gives a shit? Nobody looks at your grades. Excuse my
Yeah.
language. I hope that's okay that I
Oh, this
swore.
this three parallels, baby. We good.
Okay, great. I won't go crazy with it, but um, it's like, well, if I get a B in this class, but I get to, I got to see my daughter take her first steps, or I had to kill this meeting in London that week, like you got to prioritize stuff. And
Mm.
business school will kill a perfectionist, or at least
Mm.
the program, in my experience, I felt
Yeah.
with like, and
Yeah.
I think I was probably a little more of a perfectionist at the start.
Yeah.
Um, and I was always like a grades guy, like, well, since I was in college at least. Um, like I just wanted perfect scores on things, and I wanted to kind of prove how smart I was.
Yeah.
And I had a little chip on my shoulders. I didn't go to like a, some big name brand university or anything, so I was
Hmm.
really trying to prove how smart I was a lot. And then I think some of the work I did just made me realize that that was really dumb.
Break that down. They break it down, Greg. Break it down.
If you're trying to prove how smart you are to people, then you're not smart. It's like
Wow. Wow.
it's that's not your job. Your job isn't to prove how
Mm,
smart. Your job is to show it,
yeah.
and through your actions, not through
Hmm.
your attitude, not through saying, I don't know, how can I say it? Yeah, it's through your actions and your stuff and your relationships and all that stuff. I realized, I mean, throughout my career, I've realized that I had to work on my emotional intelligence. And I used to value, I think that's part of what I was saying about that. I tried to show how smart I was.
Yeah.
And I thought, especially my early career, like my at science, but really at nature, the first few years at nature, there's a lot of young people there and stuff. And I was maybe a little intimidated. So I got a little, um, maybe it was more of a defense thing, maybe of
Hmm.
me trying to prove how smart I was.
Yeah.
And I, at one point, this sounds so stupid looking back, but it's like, I really undervalued the emotional intelligence part. And I just thought, hey, this is work.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have personalities, whatever. Just do the damn work.
Yeah.
When people were struggling with something, or like, I don't know, I just had no time for that.
Hmm. Hmm. So,
And
so I
uh-huh.
want to jump in real quick. This is what I mean by the hard work,
Yeah.
Greg. So the reason it doesn't seem hard because you did it multiple times over.
Yeah.
And so the life that you live, just what I'm noticing, the life that you live right now is due to all the experiences that you've had from birth to where you are. So
Hmm.
because you've done it, it doesn't seem, it doesn't sound like for you it's a big deal. But Greg, to be honest, it's a really big deal, man.
Yeah.
I don't know too many people that worked abroad, you know what I mean? Like internationally right after undergrad or getting a business degree from Georgetown. I went to Georgetown for the first time in my 30s. I thought it was just an idea from Allen Iverson, playing
Right.
basketball. I didn't know it was a real thing. So, Greg, I need you to know your life is unique because you are, and this is the work. Because a lot of people are still in the same space of, I don't have time for emotions. I don't have time. It's work, it's grind. And that's why I want to talk about that because a lot of the listeners are in that space now of dealing with perfectionism and imposter syndrome and all the stuff
Hmm.
that underneath the surface does not matter, but above the surface seems like it's the only thing that matters. And you figured it out. You figured it
Well,
out.
yeah. Thank you, but I don't know if you ever really figure it out. Do you?
To
It's
me,
always a
you're
journey.
constantly figuring it out. And to me, if I'm constantly figuring it out, I never figure it out, but I'm getting better and better every day. And it
Yeah.
sounds like, that student in you, just being a student of life, is how you have this fluidity and flexibility in your learning, in your journey. So
Hmm.
I'm curious to know, how did you discover like this mindset of don't worry about my feelings, let's just get the job done? How did you get from that to understanding, knowing about emotional intelligence and moving into that space?
Well, some of it was about stuff that didn't happen. Like I didn't get promoted up through the ranks at nature. I um always felt like I was kind of like the one everybody thought would, or maybe I say everybody, maybe just me, but I always thought I was on the cusp. Like any day I'm going to get this next thing. And then
Yeah.
it wasn't coming. And your time perspective shifts a lot. I think we experience age as the percentage of time we've lived. So, when you're 10, a year seems to go on forever. That's 10% of your life. But even then I was like impatient, like, come on, come on. And I got the
Hmm.
business degree and was like, come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I realized like, I don't know. I was like, this It's not going anywhere here. And
Yeah.
when I literally sat down and was like, why is this?
Hmm.
And it wasn't a one-time thing, but I was, started talking to some people and asking questions like, why is this not happening like I want it to?
Yeah.
Some of it was like I had like a conflict with this person who basically had my job before, and they were very unhelpful to
Yeah.
me when I came in and caused me some issues because I didn't have data and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we ended up going to these like they had this like session where we had to take these like tests and stuff. And they showed up like an hour late. So I was like, there's my
Mm.
issue. But
Yeah.
but it was almost like a good plan on their part because I was like fuming.
Hmm.
And then I answered these questions and it was like I was all I can't remember the brain types, but I was all like uh right brain or left brain, whatever. I was all logic,
Yeah. Yeah.
all that. And I was like so proud of it. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, see, I'm like no nonsense. I'm not about these emotions. I'm that.
Yeah.
But and I was like, yeah, man, I'm gonna kill it. And then I was like, dude, I think that's the biggest black mark I could have on my file.
Mm.
Like if you're
Mm.
not to get to that next level, you got to be good with people and you got to be it's the soft skills. And even in
Yeah.
business school, like I went to business school thinking I just need to learn some formulas and get the stamp.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking about that other stuff. And I wasn't a
Yeah.
business major. I was like, man, business is just show up and do stuff.
Yeah.
And I it just kind of hit me like, oh shit, I'm never gonna go anywhere there. I
Mm.
gotta work on that. Like
Yeah.
and I still have to tell myself that.
Yeah.
And I would I used to have a really hard time. I was always passionate about the work, but I would lose my temper sometimes when I hit an obstacle. And if that
Greg,
obstacle
the
was a
Greg,
person, I would really get aggressive.
I would have never, Greg. I would have never. I guess we get along really well because I can't even see that side of you at all. I can't
Yeah.
even imagine it. And this speaks volumes to your growth, to your evolution of who you were to who you are, and that has gotten you to this place where you're at the top of your game in the industry that you're in because you know you. It's like you really found out about Greg, and you did the work to find out who you are and living in this way, which a lot of people don't do, man. A lot of people don't have that capacity, but you do. You have that capacity and capability. You've done
Yeah.
both.
I
And then,
started seeing a therapist at the time too.
okay,
I mean, I've seen a bunch, but to try to help me work this because it also, it did bleed into like my marriage and stuff like that too. Like, um, to change subjects, but like, it was a hard lesson to learn. Like that when you are in an argument, you don't win by being the angriest, and you don't
mm,
win by being like, look how mad I am,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
or you don't win an emotional argument with logic and
Woo, woo, hold on,
things
time
like
out,
that.
Greg. Hold time. You saving marriages right now, okay, Greg? I need you to hear that. Can you say that one more time? This is really big. You don't win. Say that one more time.
You don't win emotional arguments with logic, and you can a lot of times use logic as a weapon that actually belittles the person and belittles their emotions, and it's misunderstanding what the argument is about.
Wow,
The argument
Greg.
isn't always about who said what when.
Yeah,
It's or who did what at what time, and like, no, that's wrong. I said that and that and that. It's about,
yeah.
well, why is this okay? Who cares about that? And again, this is so easier said than done. Like, do as I say, not as I do, because I get better at it, but you still
Yeah.
have tendencies. Um, but you gotta like it's a weak emotional intelligence is everything, and you understanding that and like just understanding what's the real root cause of things and what's the upset. So I tried to put a logical thought process behind it. So like I was a philosophy and literature major undergrad,
Hmm.
and I loved that stuff. Um, but it's like at it in its essence, what is a thing? Like any kind of
Mm,
thing. What is it at its heart? And if
yeah.
you don't get that, you're never going to understand the problem. And I was solving the wrong problems a lot of times.
Wow, Greg, this is next level, man. Again, this is just your life, But this is
It's
not the
just my life.
norm. This is not the norm. I'm 7 years in my marriage, and I'm learning that in real time
Yeah.
now. You know,
Yeah.
it's not about this win or lose mentality. And for a lot of men, when it comes to masculinity, that's what we're taught and told. You know, it's win, it's overpowering, it's getting the best of my opponent in competition. Like as
Yeah.
a married man, like you're removing yourself from that because it doesn't work in building, establishing, and maintaining a healthy marriage. And it sounds
Hmm.
like for you, you're learning that and had to learn that in order to make that pivot, which some people never know. Some people never heard this before. And that's
Hmm.
why this show is so important to highlight it because that's how you can pivot within your marriage. So whether you're married to a man, or married to a woman, you're married in a relationship, partnership, this is a relationship. And
Yeah.
that's a new way of being in relationships, which makes even more sense to me now of your experience to move as high as you have because it relates to people. And knowing
Hmm.
Greg well enough to know I can't come here slapping folks around. I need to connect with the heart so I don't have to slap nobody around. But you figured that
Right.
out. So I feel like this goes to your, and this is what I want to give you your flowers in real time because this show is also about giving flowers. I feel that you being a student of life and your ability to pivot, to shift, to be okay in the gray has afforded you a lot of opportunities that a lot of people do not get because you're open, you're honest, you're curious. You're okay with making mistakes. Where did this level of Greg come from to be as open as you are and flexible to pivot as you have throughout your career, personally and professionally?
Um, well, a lot of it is exposure to mental health experts and professionals and just the way they talk and getting surrounded by it. And um, yeah, it's always about who you surround yourself with and who you're in touch with, right? And
Mm,
um, your network of important people to you says a lot about you.
yeah.
And once I started taking the emotional intelligence part seriously,
Hmm.
and I haven't read like tons of books on it, honestly. I personally I have a hard time. It's an admission that I probably don't want people to hear, but I hate reading business books. Oh God, I hate them so
Listen,
much.
this podcast is for healing too, man. This is healing, Greg. You sharing that out
Hate them.
loud?
I hate them. I hate them. And
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah,
Not that there's not good concepts. I just don't have. Ugh, I love to. I read a lot,
yeah.
but I hate business books. Um,
Gotcha.
and so I don't read a whole lot of business books about like moving cheese and shit like that. I tend to like look for other sources for that kind of
Uh-huh.
stuff. Like
Yeah.
um honestly, some of the most valuable business books I've ever read have been like fiction or
Mm.
or um fiction or uh I don't know, or articles on people or subjects, but uh or even biographies. But yeah, I just can't read something that's supposed to teach you how to do something, I don't know, like that.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
want to hear the story.
Yeah.
Gotta have a
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And yeah, so but anyway, once I realized I couldn't, that nature wasn't working, and I just graduated from business school. And I got a call from like a recruiter from this relatively new company who was doing uh library collections,
Hmm.
databases
Yeah.
in arts, in more on the art side of things. And I was always more attuned to the arts than the um sciences. And they wanted me, so that for me to come on wasn't, it was about equal pay is what I was making.
Hmm.
But I was like, I got to shift tracks, and this is an opportunity to shift tracks.
Yeah.
And I was like director of marketing, and I did that stuff for a while. But again, I realized in that thing I wasn't that long, and I realized what I wanted to do was be on the editorial side,
Yeah.
not on the marketing side.
Uh-huh.
And because I don't know, like selling other people's ideas is great, but I mean, it's weird. Like in this state. I mean, I don't want to sell my ideas, but I like working with experts, but
Hmm.
I like to work with them, not the people working with the experts that like
Yeah.
I just want to these guys like I wanted to be one of the people figuring out what to publish.
Hmm. Hmm.
And we're more of an aggregator than original publisher.
Yeah.
Um, we would do these databases of streaming music and videos. It would be the first like streaming video, academic streaming video collection. So you'd have all
Mm.
these like world historic documentaries of or footage from the wars, and like you could stream it, and then the whole like Smithsonian Folkways record label streaming for and really heavily indexed like for ethnomusicologists and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was still as director of marketing, but they had this idea for like a comic book database for running around for a while,
Hmm.
and I had a lot of thoughts on that because I was
Mm.
I'm a comic book guy, always had been. Um, I read a lot of them, still do.
Yeah.
And we had a editor who was on it who was not into it,
Mm.
and I was like, well, let me take a stab at this, and I ended up putting together this the world's first academic collection of comic books and graphic novels with
Wow.
focused on underground. Part of this was me combining my knowledge of the subject um, with knowledge of libraries and librarians and what they like. Again,
Yeah.
importance of fit.
Yeah.
And I never, I tried not to put myself off as an expert. I think I developed expertise as part of this in the subject area. Like
Hmm.
I knew some.
Yeah.
Um, but the first thing I learned a lot from this job, the guy Stephen Rentut who owned it was called Alexander Street Press.
Hmm.
He's a visionary in this area, but he used to always say like the first step in building a product is to do the flyer, make
Mm.
like a one-page flyer for it,
Yeah.
and don't worry about how could you get X, Y, or Z. Just do it. And if you can't write that, you don't have a product.
I love
And
that. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah, it's like what's your elevator pitch before you even do the rest?
Yeah.
And it's really hard,
Mm.
but it puts it in perspective. And we settled on focusing on underground and independent comics and graphic novels from like the 60s, 70s, 80s to more current stuff. So not the Marvel DC stuff. It was
Gotcha.
comics were part of the biggest like censorship campaign
Uh-huh.
in modern US history.
Yeah.
There's a whole story about that, and um, kind of curtailed on that because one thing I knew is there's nothing that librarians like more, especially academic librarians, than banned books.
Mm.
So, um, anyway, going at it from that area, and it opened up a whole lot of options. And I just got some, went to all these publishers and old ex publishers and said, look, the problem with the database is there's like thousands of people, and I have no way to clear it with thousands of people because all these what made them independent were that the authors held the rights. I was like,
Hmm.
you have the Rolodex.
Yeah.
So I sold them and said, hey, you're a part of this. You'll get a cut of everything that they get a cut of. And I still get reached out to sometimes by some of these authors, artists from the 60s, 70s, like, thank you. Like
Uh,
a couple $1,000s every now and then. And they're like, this is amazing. Like
wow.
I didn't know anyone still remembered my work. And when the Library Journal Arts Reference project of the year, I think the year it came out. Um, but anyway, I used the comic one to talk as an analogy to explain the job. So I had to go
Yeah.
get licenses for the stuff. We then like, digitized it, indexed it, so we could say this guy wrote these pages. Sometimes in a
Mm.
30-page comic book, you might have 10 writers and 10 artists on each. So clearing all that was a big hurdle, but you know, I was like, hey,
Yeah.
this is what sells on the flyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is
Wow.
the flyer idea. So we got to figure out a way around this. And you can normally.
Yeah. Wow. Well,
Um,
so you're an innovator, man. You're an innovator. You're a creator as well as a polisher, like structure. Like you do a lot of different things.
Well, creating, but I'm not the creative, like
Hmm.
I can't draw a stick figure, dude.
So here's the thing. I would consider you to, and I just got to this place not too long ago. You would I would consider you to be a builder.
Yeah.
So you have a like you work really well with the visionary, and you can help that visionary solidify things as a builder. And this explains why you and I work so well together.
Mhm.
I have the vision, and you build it. You build the structure around it. So that's a huge thing. And I'm curious, man, how did you get the confidence and courage to pivot so much throughout your career? How did you do that? Where did that come from? Because most people, their work a job is good. I'm okay. I'm gonna just keep doing it. For you, it's like, there's an option there, there's an opportunity there, there's a gap there. I'm curious. What was it that gets you to this place to be comfortable and confident in pivoting?
Well, I gotta say, I don't know if I'm as comfortable and confident in pivoting as much now as I was back then.
What changed?
Um, I didn't feel like it was a choice. Like it was just like I gotta go. Like it was always, but I would say like it was always at somebody else's behest. Like I've always had a level of fear that the bottom's going to drop out,
Mm,
and I hated the thought of like just at someone's whim I could be like out on the street tomorrow, you
gotcha.
know, and that always bugged me. So I was always like, I gotta get better just to ensure like if that happens,
Yeah.
I've never been fired from a real job. I didn't get hired back at J. Crew call center one year, but that's a whole nother story. When I was like 17, but I like I don't know. I was always afraid of that, and so
Yeah.
and if you're not growing, you're stagnant. You're stagnating. So it was just that. It was more of a search for like, hey, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Um, and with that comic book thing, like I did that, but then since that obviously was working and stuff, sort of in parallel before that even started, I a lot of that job was actually my first foray into the editorial part was researching what could work, like what new
Mm,
area should we go into.
yeah. Yeah.
And there was this other idea that they had, so much like comics, like the first person I mentioned who was like on the comics thing, it was like, hey, here's a list of things we should get: Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. I'm like, dude, shut up, that's not right. That's not who we were. Like
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
tiny, like that's not us. um but there was this idea for this for psychology,
Uh-huh.
and they had this one thing they did with this organization Sage, um publisher Sage,
Yeah.
and and initially it was called like Primary Sources in Psychology,
Hmm.
and it wasn't selling, and they had just launched it right before I came on board even as a marketing person, and I was like, why isn't this selling? What is it? So you just start talking to customers, figuring out, looking at what was in it. What it was transcripts of counseling sessions.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
was just branded badly.
Mm,
And I, at that point, didn't understand the difference. Like I'd been going to therapists, but I'd never looked at the letters afterwards. To me, I
mm,
would just say, I'm going to see a psychologist. And
yeah.
I didn't know the counselor, clinical social worker, whatever, you
Yeah.
know. Um, I'd been to see many with my wife, like with my kids, like when we got counseling before the when the kids were really little, first kid, just about how to be good parents, and I have no idea what they were. I don't know if they were
Yeah.
counselors, social workers, whatever. um but then in digging into this, I got exposed to that world and was like, oh, there's a difference. There's things, and that's we this what we had wasn't it. and
Mm,
and then the other realization was, I don't know if even if I don't know if this is the marketable that much anyway. Even
yeah.
if like it would be better if it was for counseling, but it's
Yeah.
not going to break us into that field. Like we're not going to become
Mm,
a counseling publisher with this.
yeah.
And through some research, it's like what we need are videos of demonstrations of counseling sessions, because looking at things and talking to professors and stuff, and they're like, this is what that's what's lacking.
Yeah.
Like people want access to that. Like that's the hardest thing to
Yeah.
do, because there's textbooks on theory and our wheelhouse wasn't textbooks. And so I found some like people who were publishing these. We launched this kind of stuff, licensed them, launched, and bam, became our biggest seller ever. And
Wow.
or quickest seller.
Yeah.
Probably somebody from Alexandria is going to hear this who was in charge of other collections, like, no, mine was whatever. In my mind, again, take everything I
Yeah.
say with a grain of salt. It was real big.
Yeah.
And immediately was just like flying. All these libraries were getting it, like bam, 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 bam. And
Mm.
we ended up acquiring the company we were licensing. It was a mom and pop shop.
Yeah.
It was actually Alan Ivy's old company. If you know Alan Ivy, is micro skills, micro
Hmm.
training.
Yeah.
And his stepdaughter was like basically running the company, Elizabeth Roby, who's
Hmm.
she's still in the space. But that went so brought that in, started doing another version of the collection, and I was learning more and more about the area and the field, and it also put me in contact with these guys in Australia who were starting up a
Mm.
thing called Mental Health Academy in Australia.
Wow. And
And
that's how we came. Man, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
so sorry, that was a
No,
long-winded way of getting
no,
there, but that's
no apology. No apology. This is why
and
we here, man.
yeah, but at that time, so the idea was, hey, they had some bunch of Australian content, some US content. They had just launched it um in Australia, but they wanted to do it in the US. And like I said, I was always looking for like, dude, how do I not have this fear in the pit of my stomach of like, on a whim, somebody's going to say something. Plus, it was clear to me that Stephen was going to sell the company soon.
Yeah.
And I was like, I didn't have a guaranteed piece of it. And now
Yeah.
that always ate at me a little bit, to be honest. That hurt.
Yeah.
I was a little wounded by that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I got to go now. Like, this is an
Mm.
opportunity here.
Hmm.
I've got to go. Like,
Yeah.
I got to jump on this because I understood the discipline. I understand subscriptions because that's what I was doing at Nature and Science
Yeah.
and even at Alexander Street Press. I understood the financial part thanks to the business school,
Yeah.
and I understood about working with academics and organizations to help promote things for us,
Yeah.
like I did with the sheets.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow, this is checking all the boxes. So, yeah, again, I felt like I had to jump, like it was the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful, man.
Um,
Beautiful. Please know you are a blessing. Okay. Whether you know it or not, you are a blessing. You're a blessing to me. You're a blessing to listeners because this is your life. This is your truth. It's you may not view it the way we view it because we're on the outside looking in. And to me, it's a really big deal because it talks about your experiences. And if you think about full circle, this international work you've been able to do, this is how you started your career, and this is where you are now on a different
mhm.
level. So I am curious because now we've been in the basement. I appreciate you allowing us in your basement. Now we're finna go in the kitchen because we finna cook. And I'm curious to know, throughout your life, you've come in contact with a lot of different types of people. All the letters, alphabet soup, to those who have zero letters at all. Like you've seen a lot. I'm curious to know
Uh-huh.
what have you learned about people and all of your experiences. What are some highlights or things that you feel as though you really learned about people that you can share with the listeners?
Um, what have I learned about people? Well, number one, I mean, you know, there's no heroes and there's no villains, and that everybody's a hero in their own story. And um and that generally, if you listen to people, if you really listen and try to understand where they come from, it helps with everything. Like it helps, like if you got to work with someone and you just don't not understanding them, um you just gotta emphasize, you gotta prioritize getting to understand more.
Mm,
And because most of it comes from just different viewpoints and coming at problems from different angles where a lot of the conflict comes from. I mean, there's
mm-hmm.
always going to be conflict, and you can't avoid conflict, but you can get better at dealing with it.
Yeah.
um and people are always, it's always, I feel like relationships are always better and healthier long term, when you deal with stuff as it comes up and you don't let it fester. And
Yeah.
you can't, you know, that's the hardest thing in the world. I still find myself guilty of it, but like I've had some of the things I'm the proudest of doing have been like things that were painful to do, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're like, this relationship isn't working.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's a work relationship, or even in like, we talked about this another day, but like in my band, you know, I've had to let some people go in the band. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
we're not on the same page. Like, it's
Mm.
not working, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we could harbor it and just get mad. I could get mad and like, he's late again, or he's not showing up again, or he's doing XYZ. Damn it. And just harbor this mad to where it becomes, then there's no hope for that relationship.
Yeah.
But if you just do it, you know, if you say stuff at the right time, you know, stitch in nine, it's time, stage nine,
Yeah.
whatever that, I never really understood what that meant. But yeah, if you're upfront and honest with people, and that's the trick. And I, I really admire people who do what they say they're going to do. And
Yeah.
when people do that, that's who the people I like the most. And I met a lot of people with a lot of great things after their names, like, you know, letters and impressive schools, who were terrible at that.
Mm.
And a lot of people with nothing behind their names, but who are great at it. And
Yeah.
that's and that's everything. I mean, follow through is,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't always been great at that in my life.
Yeah.
But it's the most important. Like for me, the skill that I value the most, and I see it in people, I'm like, grab that
Yeah.
person. I want that person. Like I don't have a job for them yet, but I'll make one.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
when you find someone who just follows through, gets stuff
Yeah.
done that they say they're going to do, and isn't afraid to make mistakes. Because most procrastination, and the reason people don't follow through, is because they don't know how to do it,
Mm.
and they're afraid of failing.
Whew.
Um, but that's so much worse. Not doing is so much worse than failing, and but it's hard. It's a hard thing to live by, because I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of stuff that I want to do that I don't, because
Yeah.
I don't know how to start.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh man, you again a blessing. Okay, a blessing. You're dropping gems. You're dropping breadcrumbs for the listeners. These are your breadcrumbs. This information is life changing if it's applied. You know,
yeah,
if you have to apply it, and you're talking about things that changes the dynamics of anybody's life. Because to me, it's about people. Like, what else is there outside of people? The work that we do, who we serve,
it's
who
everything.
hurt. It's everything. And to me, that's what I value, and I value it even more because that's who I'm investing in. Not dogs, not lions, baboons, apes, gorillas. No, people, like really human beings, because it's the epitome of all. You know, it's humanness. So speaking of humanness, I'm curious to know a word, phrase, memory, or moment that has stuck out with you that you want to share with the listeners.
A word, phrase, memory, or moment.
Yeah, whatever you got.
Um, uh, Maybe you can edit out my humming and hawing.
We keeping it.
Joking.
This show too
I
real,
I
baby.
think of a lot. I
Is it?
mean, there's so many that it's hard for me to. And I'm blinking. What's my first one? Well, I used to have this line. Like, this is kind of a negative thing that I would say. Old
We'll
me,
take it.
old me.
Owed you. I see you, Greg. I see you, Greg. Owed you. Let's talk about it.
I would confront, like when having a conversation with people, I would say, walk me through your thought process on this. And basically it was like, this is stupid, is what I was saying. And so maybe the most important thing I've done is drop that phrase.
All right. So what is it? Just curious. What does the new Greg say? What does he say in those moments?
Um, I okay, what do I say in that moment? Um, I might like, I still have the feeling. But here's the thing, I have the feeling. All right,
Yeah.
but I'm like, all right, walk me through it. Like,
Mm,
yeah, you know, walk me through how this comes. A lot of it's delivery, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, if I go, you know, explain to me your thought process in this. right? It's real aggressive. And there's no winning that. That puts people on the defensive, and it puts people on the defensive, and they see me as an enemy.
Yeah.
As an opponent, not as like, okay, well, let's, thank you for doing this. Like, if you've presented something to me or whatever, hey, at least you started it. So like we go, and like it's just start of an idea, right? Starting something is, there's no like Welsh saying I heard, like a job started is a job 70% done or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like so there's got to be, stuff gets better over time and through input of different people and things like that. So it has no chance if when I started like that.
Yeah.
And I'll think of a better one and later.
That's
like
that's great. That's
moments,
great.
But
that's great.
I got to thank my wife for explaining just how awful that phrase was to me.
Big shout out to your wife. Big shout out to your therapist. All of them. Okay. Big shout out to your therapist. And I love your ability to pivot in your ability to see who you were. Like the old Greg, the emotional intelligence piece wasn't there yet, but who you are now, you have it. You've learned it, and you're picking up on things. Again, being a student of life, personally and professionally, which makes sense of who you are now. And I'm glad I get this version of Greg because it's been love from day one to where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I'm so glad to have this sounds weird, overly emotional, to have you in my life, man. Like every time we speak,
that's sweet, man. Listen, this is what this show about. This is emotional intelligence at its finest. So, fellas, I need y'all to see this in real time. You can be emotionally intelligent, and this is what this is. I feel the same about you, Greg. Yeah. I feel the same. And again, we ain't even been in the same room yet. Okay, so imagine. So last thing before we get out of here, on this show, we don't offer homework, because homework, you take it home, you do it, you never remember it again. We offer life work, and life work is something that can allow people to pivot. So if you could offer something, life work, to the listeners, what would it be to get them to pivot?
Think about, if you don't, 10 years from now, will you be glad that you didn't? That's what prompted me to go to business school when I went. I was like, just had a small kid, and she was young, and my wife's like, now's not the time. And I was like, I don't see it getting any easier. And it's always, now is the best time to do anything. I mean, you got to be prepared, but now is the best time, because it only gets harder for various reasons.
Mic drop, Greg. That is a mic drop. Now is the time. Y'all heard it here first, family. Now is the time. It's 2026. We're at the beginning of the year. It's Q1. It's time to start on this.
If you want to pivot, you start figuring out how to do it now. I'm not saying just don't quit and say, now I'm going to be an artist. No, I can't draw, but I'm going to be a comic book artist, and I have no idea how to draw. Don't know how to write. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
But start. Yeah. Now's the time to figure out how you're going to make that transition.
I love it. Last thing, if people want to get in contact with you, people want to give you flowers, give you love, people want to partner with you, how can someone get in touch?
Well, the best thing, you can email me, Greg, Greg, at mentalhealthacademy.net. Our website is mentalhealthacademy.net, obviously. I have LinkedIn. I'm also on LinkedIn. Greg, my last name is spelled Urquhart. There's a castle in Scotland, picture Loch Ness. There's the Urquhart Castle in the background. That's my name. So just for reference, remembering. I have Twitter and stuff, but not Twitter, but Instagram, things like that. But I don't look at it that much, so that's not the best. Email's the best, or LinkedIn. I'm always on those.
Gotcha. Excellent, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, gracing us with your presence, with your energy, with your vibes. I'm a fan of you, always will be. I can't wait till we are able to meet in person, because it's going to happen. I don't know when, where, how, why. That ain't none of my business, but I know it's going to happen, and I can't wait for that. So thank you so much for being here. Any final words, final thoughts?
I know you've got hard stuff. No, smash that like button. I don't know.
Let's go.
Smash the subscribe button on
I love it, Greg. I
It's a great
appreciate you
podcast.
100%.
All
I
right.
appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. All
All
right.
right,
I know you
so
got a hard stop, so
we good. We good. So, family, this has been another episode of Three Parallels Podcast with your host, the Dr. Jason Branch, where we rediscover who we were, embrace who we are, and make room for who we're trying to become. And for those watching, I got merch now. I am him. Yes, indeed.
nice.
Him, all caps, no blue hat. You want some? Come get some. Have a great day. Peace.